Okay. Well, we're going to start the lesson with a few speaking part one questions, and then we're going to move on to the actual lesson, which is going to cover speaking part two instead. So, as you know, in speaking part one, there are two types of topics. The the most basic ones, which are like inevitable, would include accommodation or what you do. And then we can move on to talk about other things like birds and, other types of topics. You see the list of topics here. Now, let's get the ball rolling. Let's start with Wang, please. Let's talk about accommodation. Are you living in a house or an apartment?
Currently, I'm living in a small rented house, which is quite cramped and not spacious as I want. I live with my sisters, and this building is quite small. Especially when it comes to I have to, store my personal belongings.
Well, then, which room in your apartment is your favorite?
Well, I would say that my living room, even though that it is quite small, it features a lot of amenities and facilities that are efficient for my studying purposes, like my computers or even refrigerators to store my food on a daily basis.
Thank you. Let's continue then. Ngọc, please. Let's talk about your accommodation, as in where you live. Are you living in a house or an apartment? Ngọc, can you hear us? Oh, she's not responding, so I'm gonna move on to a different person. Um, Khả Anh, please. Are you living in a house or an apartment?
I'm currently living in a house, and my house has already been built since I was born. So I kind of don't know how it was constructed, but I'm about to move to an apartment when I entered the university.
Mm. So, at the moment, is there a beautiful view from where you live?
Um, Actually, because I think um too accustomed to the view in my house, so I don't find any special, honestly,
Mm,
because I
okay,
see it too many times.
thank you. That's a lazy answer. Let's continue. Um, Chang Võ, please. Oh, I think that we have covered this topic with you last time, so we're going to move on. I want to talk to someone else. Um, uh, okay, Miss Rina, please. Let's talk about what you do. Are you a student or do you work?
Um, well, actually, I have been working before, but recently I have just started a, a I mean like a course to
Mm,
I'm sorry. Can you can I start over? I'm sorry.
sure. Are you a student or do you work?
Um, well, recently I have just started a course. I just enrolled in a course related to teaching and educating. So technically, I would say that I'm a student now.
Mm. But then, do you think that it's important for you to be passionate about what you're studying?
Hmm, I think it's not that really necessary, but if you are really passionate about what you are doing, what are you pursuing, especially your major, it always comes with the better performance because you always have a lot of motivation and inspiration to complete your task or your assignments very effectively. And I think it's also rewarding for you because you can enjoy what you are studying every day, especially when it comes to some the subjects related to theoretical knowledge.
Thank you. But the link is here. Let me just send it to you all so you can track my comments.
Okay.
Okay. Mm. Your answers were fine, but there was I feel like you chopped your sentences into too many pieces. And to be honest, I don't care about the reason behind it, but I would like to hear a higher level of consistency. And you need to link those sounds a bit more.
Okay.
Let's continue.
Yeah.
Mm, Ngọc, please. Can you hear me?
I can now. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Are you a student or do you work?
I am a student and I'm currently in grade 10.
Hmm. Well then, at school, which subject is your favorite?
I would say my favorite subject would probably be math, and so um, I used to hate it, but because of it, um, so my grades.
Are you saying something? We can't hear you.
So
Hmm. Oh, no, unfortunately, your Wi-Fi connection was a bit bad. Can you answer again?
oh, math used to be one of my weakest subjects, and because of it, it was the only subject that I got,
Hmm.
and so it became motivation for me.
Well, unfortunately, not the only thing that we managed to hear was a motivation for me. Um, Perhaps we can, talk some other time during the class, all right? Thank you. Hmm. Zui, I think that Zui also answered this topic in the last lesson. I wonder why I don't have so many options left. With Ming, I think that we also talked about this. All right, let's move on then. Let's talk about something a bit more challenging. Birds. Of course, our favorite thing to talk about. Chang Fa, please. Are there many birds in your area?
Not really. I only see birds once in a blue moon, especially when I were a little kid. I remember that I saw a lot of birds, but until now, many years ago, I didn't see them anymore. Yeah.
Thank you. But then, did you keep a bird when you were younger?
No, I didn't. My parent didn't allow me to have my own pet. As I remember, I used to make a little kitchen, a chicken die. So from that moment, I never really went out of my way to have a pet.
Hmm. But then, what types of places tend to attract birds?
Well, I think quiet place with a lot of trees tend to attract birds. I think birds love the place that have their beautiful atmosphere, greenery area with fresh air and natural surroundings are also more suitable to birds, I think.
Thank you. This has nothing to do with your exam. What do you mean by beautiful atmosphere?
Mm, inclement weather.
Huh?
Beautiful weather. Like not too hot, not too cold, mild weather.
Sure, then I think it's better for you to go with mild weather.
Yeah.
I don't think that we can interpret beautiful atmosphere as beautiful weather because these are two different things. When you say the atmosphere is beautiful, it's more like a feeling, like you're in a wedding and people are cheering one another and then cheering for the couple, then you say that it's a beautiful atmosphere. I don't think birds can say that, right? Perhaps it's better to say agreeable, mild weather. Okay, let's continue. Tawan, please. Let's talk about birds. Again, are there many birds in your area?
Um, I would say not really, but I did see many of them like in my school,
Mm,
especially my middle school. Um, I think because like the surrounding area of my school is like we have a lot of trees and uh there are a lot of like dense layers of leaves there, and I think it is like a good location for birds to live there. And
thank you. Well then, um, do you think that in the future you will keep a bird as a pet?
uh I would say no,
Mm,
because my friend, she like used to have one, and I did come to her house to like meet the pet and play with them. But to be honest, like I think it was a terrible experience for me because they pooped a lot, and I think it would be really exhausting for
thank
me
you.
when
To take
yeah,
care of a bird.
yeah.
Well, I think that it's common experience. Let's continue. Thảo Hương, please. We're still gonna talk about birds here. When you were younger, did you have a bird?
When I was younger, I didn't have any birds, but my uncle did. Well, he raised different types of birds in his house, so he could sell it to different types of people. So I remember he had sparrows, of course, parrots, some pigeons, and that's all. There are many other types, but I cannot name it. Yeah,
Hmm.
but I remember
Thank you.
there were
Well
lots.
then, do you think that it's common for Vietnamese people to keep birds as pets?
I do think so. So I think birds can be a good type of pet because it's easy to raise them. You just need to keep them in a cage and feed them every once in a while. And then we need to clean up the mess after they poop, right? So I think because of that reason, people might keep them. And I see a lot of stores, even like some barber shops, I see them keep those small birds like sparrows inside so they can entertain their clients.
Thank you. That should be it. Let's continue. Another diabolical topic, sitting. Okay, let's continue. About Tell, please. Let's talk about sitting. Do you often sit for long?
Yes, I think that I sit. I usually sit for a long time, so I I know that it is not good, but I have to like spend time to study. Or when I study, I have to write, or I have to like explore a lot of things. So I w- I usually sit for I will sit for 2 hours to 3 hours, and I forgot to stand up. So I think that mm, sitting for long is not good, but I
Thank you. That should be
haven't
fine.
considered.
But
Okay.
then what types of seats do you find comfortable?
Um, I think I want to sit. I don't really understand this question.
Hmm. Like there are different types of seats, but then what types of seats are comfortable for you?
Um, I don't understand the phrase, types of seats. What do you mean?
Materials.
Uh, um, I think I often sit for a long time when I study, so I wanna sit in I usually sit in on sofa, so I feel really comfortable, and sometimes I can sit and sleep too, so I think
Mm,
it is good choices.
mm. Continue. Let's continue. Thank you, Cho. Zui, please. Well, then, do you often sit for long periods of time?
Well, I would say no. I think I've been quite responsible. I've been quite a responsible person in the sense that I tried not to sit for too long. For instance, even at work, many other people have a bottle of water with them. I actually deliberately didn't do that because I want to move my body around a bit to get water.
Okay. Well, then, do you feel sleepy when sitting down for a long time?
Oh, certainly, yes. Well, I actually thought that it was just me, but actually, everybody else also shared the same feeling, I guess. I think it's kind of encoded in the way that our body works, because when when you sit for too long, chances are you are sleepy. I mean, chances are you are tired, and you should get some rest.
Thank you. Let's continue with Ming, please. Do you often sit for long?
Um, well, I would say yes, I do the administrative work. So I sit at least 8 hours in front of my computer. And it is a bit unhealthy. So I'm creating a habit of standing up for a few minutes and walks around after 1 hour of work.
Hmm. Well, then, what types of seats are comfortable for you?
Um, yeah, I do research a lot about chairs and seat, and there's two things I would think about when it's come to comfortable seat. I would say the first one is cushion. I love the thick and soft cushion where I can sink into. And this next one is the material, the fabric. I would love the natural fabric like cotton or linen, which is breathable, though
Hmm.
it is not really easy to clean. Yeah,
Thank you.
so
I'd
that's
like
the
you to check the word cushion here. Is that cushion or cushion? Okay.
n-
All
uh,
right.
yeah.
Ngọc, please. I hope that you can speak now. Now, can you hear us? Ngọc. Hmm. Well, okay. I guess with the exception of Ngọc, I can already give you guys some comments. And also, before we start the class, I have no idea what's going on with me, but I'm super agitated. Like, I get mad for no reason, and I felt like I was a bit aggressive right from the get-go. So I do apologize. And I'm gonna issue an apology for all of my um all of the next times when I throw my tantrum. I have no idea what's going on. I don't think that there's anything wrong with my hormone, but it just happens. I'm gonna try to keep it as professional as I can, but for some reason I feel like I can easily lose my temper today. Okay. Well, I think that with the exception of Ha Anh and his horrible answer for this question here. It's not an easy one. It's a rather, out of the ordinary question, but well, I majorly dislike the way that he like addressed the question. It was lazy. He gave me a one-liner, which was disappointing. For the rest of you, I think that you all did a good job in terms of extending your answers. But I guess you guys had different areas to work on. Um, yeah, I think it's fair to say so. For instance, for Wang, I still think that you need to work on your pronunciation. You need to get to grips with words like, foot and food. I think that we have already covered this, so I want to put the ball in your court so that you can figure out what you want to do. Again, pronunciation issues like this are easily detectable. So you need to deal with it. When it comes to what I have to, essentially you were switching back and forth, in terms of like grammatical structures, which it was not a good sign, right? If you say when it comes to, then you just put a noun there. When it comes to, storing my personal stuff, when I have to store my personal belongings, right? So you have to be more flexible. But then again, it's easy to say you have to. Um, but you do need to practice a bit more and deal with these problems. It has been built. You were talking about your house. It was built many years ago. When I entered uni, I think it is fine, but you're talking about the future, so it's better for you to say when I enter my university, or I would say when I start my university years, right? And sure, I would agree with you that perhaps there is nothing special about where you live, but if you give me a one-liner, you're throwing your test away. Okay, even if there's nothing special, you have to describe, like, well, I don't think that there's anything special in terms of the scenery in my area. I mean, from my room, I look out to another house because, our house is situated at the end of an alley. So all you really see when you look out the windows or the door would be, just people's houses. So for me, it's not exactly the most inspiring thing to see. Okay, like I don't care. But then again, do I care? Yes, I'm curious. I'm nosy. I like to know stuff. But like your examiner is not going to give you the benefit of the doubt when you say something like that and you give them a one-liner. They don't care about, what you actually think. They care more about your ability to express yourself in words. Okay? So bear that in mind. Even when you see nothing special about where you live and you have already made that statement, it doesn't mean that you get to just stop there. You can, but then it means that you're throwing the test out the window as well. Okay. Now for Miss Chang, Miss Rina here, and Miss Rina, and then Châu An, and Bao Châu, all three of you were able to speak at length, but I felt like you chopped all of your sentences into very short chunks, and I thought that everything you said was perfectly intelligible. Like I understood everything you said, but you put too much emphasis on your authentic thoughts that you would chop your your sentences, your long ones into very short ones. So that really got on my nerves because you weren't exactly talking about very sophisticated things. And this is speaking part one. You don't really have to just keep going and keep going and keep going. But I think that naturalness is somewhat overrated in the speaking test. You can speak your mind if you want to, but to be honest, as an examiner, I'm more keen on how you can connect all these phrases effortlessly. And unfortunately, all three of you were effortful, which is not a word, by the way, but uh, look, I have a point. I'm just trying to say that it would be better if all three of you would produce longer sentences with fewer pauses. Or maybe not sentences, just chunks, utterances, longer utterances with fewer pauses. And for Changvo, I would recommend you to breathe out a little bit more. I felt like you were holding your breath in and you were speaking with a high pitch. So even though yeah, you sounded super energetic, I felt like you were running on empty and you could just, pause and break any moment. I'm not sure if, this is me being presumptuous, but that would be my advice for you. You need to breathe out more. And also for the first question here, I think that the ending was a bit weird. You knew that your answer was coming to an end. I could tell that you were coming to an end as well. But instead of saying, I don't get to see them anymore, you say you could have ended like that. But then you say anymore, and then yeah. I think that a yeah is kind of like a lazy way to end an answer, and don't abuse that. All right. Now, Chan, say that again. I don't see a lot of them anymore.
I don't see a lot of them anymore.
Okay, good. That would be a more proper way to wrap up your answer. You can say yeah, but if you do that one more time, I'm gonna mark you down. Okay? Okay. For Ngọc, unfortunately, we couldn't hear anything. Oh, that's a shame. Let's continue. For Bao Châu, Duy, you chose a weird word, a responsible person. um in terms of something. You could have ended it with in terms of something because this question is about sitting, and when you say you're a responsible person, that's definitely not the first word that springs to mind. So do something about this word. I'm quite a responsible person when it comes to, doing my daily dose of exercise. And by that I mean like I work a lot, and because of my work I sit a lot for very long periods of time. So, I try to punctuate, these long periods of work with, 30 or just 50 minutes of, walking around the office. Right? This word here did not strike a chord for me. Okay. Form with Ming. So, have you figured out how to pronounce this word?
It's cushion.
Cushion.
Yeah.
Cushion or cushion?
Cushion.
Cushion. Okay.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Cushion.
And also, not neck one, is the next one.
Next one.
Or you can say the other type or the other factor is. Okay.
Dạ, lúc nãy em quên mất chữ factor.
Okay. Not my problem. Okay, that should be it for today then. I thought that on average, all of you did a good job, except for Khả Anh again and his rather lazy answer. We're going to move on to the next lesson today, the next lesson now, and it's about, well, speaking part two. Okay. We're gonna do a bit more of speaking before learning things. Okay. Wait, hold on. What am I supposed to do here? I want to see the words more clearly, and I need to send you all this link. Now, about Qiao, you need to store this link, and also Ming, I want to send you a link. You need to save it to your workstation. I'm serious about things like that. You have to keep track of what you have already learned. I wonder where Ngọc is right now. Her internet connection was so bad. Oh. Well, when it comes to speaking part two, before we continue, for Hương, I did make a note here. Here, I did not note down any mistakes because there wasn't any, which was a good start. But I think that for your kind of fluency, you would be given a lot harder questions in speaking part three to see if you could actually flexibly answer questions with different rhythms. I felt like your rhythm was very nice, everything was properly enunciated, but usually that's not the case when you like do an authentic speaking test. Like you're supposed to go faster or a bit more slowly at certain parts, but for the topic of birds, your speech patterns were kind of uniform, which was great. I thought that, your answers were fine, but it was just a bit unnatural from my perspective. And so I suspect that if you were to take the test, your examiner would take speaking part two as the opportunity to see if you can maintain that sort of rhythm. And then in speaking part three, after the first topic, they're gonna give you a bit harder questions to see if you can actually sustain the same flow. Now, here's the interesting part. If you can maintain that kind of flow, you're a 9 immediately. If you cannot, though, you might be a 7.5. So that's all I'm saying, right? Um, I think that's how examiners assess like your performances. Oftentimes, candidates are not supposed to, speak with that kind of flawlessness. I know that I'm just, speculating and I'm not an examiner myself. I've been on the receiving end most of the times, but from my experience, like when I evaluate other people's speaking abilities using the IELTS band score, band descriptor, usually that would be my response. I mean, if you speak, I don't want to say naturally, but when you just, answer in the most like common way, you tend to, speed up and slow down in certain parts. If you have like the same uniform approach, that's a negative thing that's going to ping on your examiner's radar. And then they're going to try to test your actual fluency in speaking part three. If you can deliver the same kind of fluency and flawlessness, you're a 9. Okay. But if you cannot do that, you're a 7.5. Be very careful. I don't want to say be very careful as a warning. I'm just saying, that's something that's going to happen or likely to happen in the exam room. Okay, Hương. All right, let's move on then. Now, so you know that in speaking part two, you'll be given a topic. Typically, it requires you to describe something. You have 1 minute to make some notes to prepare for your speech, and then you can speak about it between 1 and 2 minutes. So here's the topic. The subject that you enjoyed studying at school. Before we start, I do have a few comments regarding the second part of the speaking test. Usually, speaking part two is just another version of speaking part one, but instead of asking you questions, your examiner is just going to put the ball in your court and then let you do whatever you want for 1 minute, and then you can speak on what you have prepared between 1 and 2 minutes. So really, this is just another speaking part one test, but it's more of an endurance test than anything else. And I guess my advice when it comes to speaking part two is that you can speak your mind if you want, but that's not the point of the test. The test is more about your ability to just keep on speaking in a certain period of time. And in speaking part two, as long as you are saying something related to the topic at hand, you will be given a good score, right? But if you want to be authentic and you speak in a very truthful manner, it may backfire, especially if doing so means you're going to step out of your comfort zone and test out a bunch of words and ideas that you have no idea how to express accurately. Been there, done that, right? So, yeah, that's all. I'm going to give you all 1 minute and I'm going to pick 3 victims. All right. Your 1 minute of preparation starts now, please. Oh, Tai. Um, what am I supposed to do now? Okay, I can keep the screen shared and I'm gonna make some notes on something else. Now, I have no idea where to look when it comes to this MacBook Air thing, which costs me about 30 million down, by the way. I think I can use this. Hold on, can't turn it on. Hmm, this is weird. Okay. So just one moment. Okay, I have a note now. Remember, you can speak about this topic between 1 and 2 minutes. And don't worry if I stop you. Let's get started with Joanne, please.
Here I am. So my favorite subject that I really enjoyed studying at school is mathematics. Um, I've been loved this subject since, to be honest, the first time um, I studied it. Like the others, I learned it at school, and also I self study. I self study it. But I self study it, and I have exposed to like different levels of it, from basic to advanced, and also not only Vietnamese mathematics but also English and international ones. And the reason why I love math is that mm, it's very challenging and it makes me feel smart, and I enjoy that kind of feeling. And when I cannot solve like the hard questions, it challenges my patience, and um like I think a like part of my ego. And um like I think because I want to like be the smartest one, so I always try my best to solve it. And um yeah, overall I think the reason why I love this subject is that it's very hard to pursue, and it brings a very interesting and exciting feeling for me.
Hmm. Okay, mathematics, overrated, but fine, whatever. Let's continue. Um, okay, let's continue. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, the next person is Ming, please.
Okay, so the subject that I enjoy studying at school, geography. The thing that I like about geography is that it teach me about the diversities of cultures and landscape, and how parts of the world are connected together. Um, as much as I like that side of geography, I'm not really good at direction, meridians, and Parallels. Um, so I do not really get high score in geography at school. For now, I still enjoy it a lot, and I have collect and read some book about geography. Yeah.
Okay, 1 minute. Nice. Let's continue. One more person. Bum, bum, bum. Anne already. Ming. And this time around, I guess I can call Miss Rena.
Okay. One subject that I was really keen on when I was a student was physical education. It was one of the few classes where I could take a break from academic pressure and I could be really physically active. I remember that having PE twice a week at that time, usually outdoors in the schoolyard. And during these classes, I participated in a variety of activities such as playing badminton, doing some jumping exercise, and sometimes even running short races around school. Those lessons were quite dynamic and really engaging, which made them different from other subjects. I have to say that. And the reason why I was really interested in these lessons was that it helped me stay active and release stress. I would say that during my high school years, I was under a lot of pressure from the upcoming entrance university exam. And after long hours of sitting in the classroom, I felt really refreshed to move around and burn off some energy. And those moments really inspired me and motivated me to keep going for my work, for my study. Beside that, I realized one thing, that PE also taught me some important skills like teamwork and discipline, especially when I played team sports with my classmates. Another reason I would say, this subject was kind of really relaxing. Unlike academic classes.
Thank you. That's fine. Wow. You know what, Miss Rena? I don't mean to offend you, but that was like the longest 2 minutes ever. I was looking at the watch and was like, oh my God, you still have one more minute to go.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
But I guess it was because you were taking your time. Okay. Well, people, I've got the notes here. Let me just put them in. Okay. Three styles of speaking. For Joanne, you were able to speak for 2 minutes, and I have to say you didn't exactly hit the ground running. Like you had a rather rough start, but then like after the 40-second mark, somehow you started to find your groove and you started speaking a lot more fluently. But my advice would be for you to aim for a good start. It doesn't have to be a grand start, so to speak. You don't really have to use big words right from the get-go, but I would like you to be more fluent at the beginning. Okay, you can say something like, well, I've always really enjoyed mathematics, even when I was a little kid. So today I want to talk about that. Understand? It doesn't have to be a big start, but it has to sound fluent. And I'm not sure if I have said this before, but a good start is always better than, a bad start. And then you proceed to do better things towards the end. If you have a good start, then somewhere down the line, you might fumble the ball a little bit, but that's going to be fine. But if you make a negative impression right from the get-go, it's really hard to come back from that. Okay. I've loved this subject ever since I was a little kid. Okay. Got it? Taewan.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fine. For Ming, well, your description was very lovely and authentic, but you couldn't really go past the 1 minute mark. So I would recommend you to perhaps give me extensions about other things as well. For instance, you could talk about your teacher, right? So you focus on the subject, which was fine, but you could have talked more extensions. You could have talked more about your teacher. You could tell me more about your personal experience with learning, this subject, right? In learning and preparing for tests, right? Just food for thought. Um, it was a bit short to my liking, and you also you also speak kind of, I don't want to say slowly, but like you have only one rhythm and it tends to go like this, you know. It's like this. There's only one rhythm. Whereas let me just draw it out here. So for Joanne and Bảo Châu and Miss Rina and also Chang Võ, your pronunciation or the way that you speak sounds like this. Okay. As in, yeah, you can speak in chunks of words, but they still feel a bit separated, right? And for Ming, you speak like this, but what I'm trying to say here is that like because of your speaking speed, it feels like there is no stress in whatever it is that you say, right? Like all the words are pronounced in the same way. And unfortunately, that's not what the IELTS test tends to appreciate. That in a normal conversation, fine, you sound like you can speak English, and I'm pretty sure that whoever that is speaking to you will try to understand you, and they won't be bothered by your monotonous approach. Like you didn't go up or down, you just like this. Okay. For Joanne and Miss Rina and and Chang Võ, they do go up and down, like up and down like this. Okay. Whereas for Ming, you sound flat. And a more appropriate rhythm when it comes to speaking, according to the IELTS test, is that you need to speak like this. That you need to go down like this, and you go. So for very important words, you're gonna stretch them out, like the one that I'm drawing. And then for less important words, you go through them a bit faster, like this. It should sound like that. You have to go up and down, like a roller coaster ride. Okay. But we're gonna talk about that later on. For Miss Rena, again, I still felt like it was the longest 2 minutes of my life, but there was no mistake whatsoever. So I think that you were able to make a rather drastic improvement. I did feel like, you were chopping your sentences into, tiny chunks of words, which was great. And you only made one mistake, in my opinion, the word pressure. Can you say that again?
Pressure.
One more time. Pressure.
Pressure.
Why is there a pre? It's pressure, and then sure. I felt like you put in another D or T between the sure. It's pressure, whereas normally it's just pressure.
Pressure.
Yeah, a bit more natural, in my opinion. Okay. Um, Ming here. Ming, have you received my comments?
Dạ có anh.
Okay. And
Em
extensions here.
dạ em có suy nghĩ là em có nhiều cái lỗi phát âm ấy, thì em không biết là em có nên slow down lại một chút để chỉnh cho nó chuẩn hơn, hay là có cách nào practice.
You're already speaking very slowly, so what's the point of slowing down even more? No, that's you can fix certain words, but don't slow down more than what you're doing right now because it's gonna sound like super lazy, which is not a good way to speak English. There must be
Okay.
a rhythm, okay? But you can fix some pronunciation errors if you figure out that you've made these mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's continue. So this is a rather easy topic, although it's not the easiest to describe if you haven't talked about any subject before. So the point of today's lesson is for you to find different ways to extend your answer and still sound organic. Okay. So we have a few groups of topics here. And in the speaking test, it's very likely that you're gonna get a topic in one of these four. So let's try to put a finger on, which group are we looking at? Okay. Now, tell please. The first one, describe a friend who became successful. Which group is this?
Can you speak again? Make English.
Tell me, which group of topic is this?
Wait.
Describe a friend who became successful, or describe a good lecture, a good sorry, a famous person. Yeah, something like that. This can be about
This can be about people.
people. Good. Next, then, describe a park where you go with your family, or describe a city or a cafe, or somewhere you have visited with your friends.
Place, location.
Yes, a location or a place. Let's go
Okay.
down here. Describe a time you took a day off from work or school.
Time for I think is activity.
An event, activity,
Yeah.
on occasion, right? And last one, the last one here. Describe a piece of jewelry, or describe a book, or describe something you have bought on the internet.
I think is personal things.
Objects, right? That's fine. Okay, so we have four groups of topic. Which group would you put this topic in?
I think
Describe a
put
subject.
in that topic in group 4 objects.
Group 4. So you're thinking about it as a technical thing, right? But that's fine. Can you put that topic in the third category for topics about event or activity?
I don't think so because the event, when we talk about event, we have to say when it is. But the subjects I think we study something at school, so we will not talk about time like when we describe an event.
Okay, then let me give you a suggestion. For instance, when talking about mathematics, I can say something like, so at the time, my math classes often took place on Monday mornings and Wednesday mornings as well. And each class lasted not half an hour, but 1.5 hours. And then, so that's the when, right? And they'll say, what I really liked about the class was my teacher who was like super creative. Like she would organize very interesting activities for us to acquire new knowledge. Like there was this one lesson where she made us cut all kinds of bizarre shapes and forced us to use different formulas to work out, the areas of these shapes. I mean, it was a very hard question, but it was a very hard task to do, but we had so much fun finding different ways to work out the square footage of these shapes. And I think that when it comes to mathematics, what I enjoyed doing the most was solving exercises, To be honest, at the beginning, it wasn't really my favorite subject because some of the questions were really hard, but then I found my groove and it got a lot easier. In fact, I even competed in a math competition, even though I didn't win any prize. How does that sound?
Okay, I got it. I think you're right.
No, I wasn't saying anything. I'm just asking, like, can we perhaps approach that topic in a different way?
Mm, I think we can like describe the time when we have a long time to study it and
Hmm.
practice. So yeah, I think we can add it.
Right? So instead of describing mathematics as like an academic subject, as in you just say what you need to learn in that subject in a very, random way, you can say, yeah, I have some personal experiences with this subject, and I'm going to tell you the stories related to
So
mathematics.
you mean we can describe the process when we study it, so it can add it
Yes.
to an event.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
You can also talk about the people that have helped you along the way when you learn mathematics. You can talk about your friends. You can talk about your teachers, right?
Okay.
So look, what I'm trying to say is that as you can see, there are four groups of topics, but it doesn't necessarily mean that these groups of topics are completely separated. Okay. Let me make a note here. Okay. A very important note. There are four groups or six, depending on who's teaching you. But well, in this case, there are four groups of topics. And oftentimes when you see some similarities between the different topics that you practice with, you can use that to your advantage. Like you can use the same ideas in different topics. Okay. If you find similarities between different topics, you can use these similarities to your advantage. Like, for instance, you can use the same ideas, right? Like if you know how to describe, let's say, Nha Trang as a tourist destination, you can describe Nha Trang when you're asked to describe a place you have been to with your friends or a place you would like to visit with your family. Okay, so that's the first value of recognizing the groups of topics. All right, but remember this, that's not the ultimate benefit because at the end of the day, the test is about whether or not you can speak, right? So remember that you can always blend other ideas in as long as they make sense. So, for instance, a subject might be in the object group, but you can describe the people, right? The people that were involved in your mathematics lessons, your teachers, your friends, right? You can also describe the people, describe some fun activities as part of these lessons. So this is the approach of describing, a time when you had a mathematics lesson, right? Or the location of some lessons, right? I don't think that there's much to say when it comes to where you can learn mathematics, but you can also say, you know what I really like about mathematics is that it has a lot of practical applications. I mean, kid you not, I do shop around a lot, especially on the internet. And one of the most important things, and also this is a real story, okay? If you can relate to me, you can give me some sort of reactions later on. Like when you hop on that orange app, Shopee, when you go to buy certain drinks or meals, they're going to give you different discount codes, right? And the assumption is that if you click to use the very first discount code, that's going to be, the best one. But for certain stores, that's not the case. You actually have to go through the list of discounts. And I think that there are like 20 of them, and perhaps the one in the middle is going to give you the steepest price reduction. So that's one thing that you can apply your mathematical skills to do, right? You can pay the least for what you want to buy. Okay, got it. Has anyone ever done that? Ah, okay. Tell An is with me. Hang is with me. We are cheap, and also Zui. Okay, good. All right, good. So these are the two very important notes that I like all of you to bear in mind. The first benefit of recognizing different groups is that, if you see topics in the same group, you can sort of just use the same ideas. It doesn't really matter. But then again, just because you have four groups, it doesn't mean that you have to approach, these questions differently. You can always just blend ideas together. For instance, you're describing a subject, right? It doesn't mean that you have to stick to, just what the subject is all about. You can also talk about your teachers. You can also talk about a very interesting mathematical lesson that you had, or a very boring one. Or you can talk about a very interesting place where you had a mathematics lesson. Okay, that's all. Any question thus
Teacher,
far?
I have, I have,
Yes.
I have. Um, when we have different approach
Mm,
to a topic,
mm.
so how we can organize the idea when when we speak and things, so we need to organize, like
Mm.
um we need to organize to so that the idea would be logical. And I think that when we have to organize, we have to think, we cannot like keep the flow, and we cannot speak and I cannot speak fluency when I have to do all this at one time.
Well, that's the point of today's lesson. So perhaps as we go through the next answer, the next sample answer, you can learn a thing or two about organizing your thoughts. Um, but overall, there is an answer that's gonna be handed to you somewhere down the line. Um, if you have to constantly think about what you're saying, perhaps it means that you haven't really acquired linguistic reflexes. And by that I mean like if you feel like you're talking about something new all the time, that's not a good approach for a speaking test. And you can observe that in sports as well. Like if you know about sports, you know that you do have to, practice your steps, your techniques, right? But
Yeah.
when you're competing, you're not supposed to think about all of these steps. You're supposed to just go. Like if you need to hit the ball, you hit the ball. If you need to chase after a ball, you chase after a ball. If you need to shoot, to dunk or anything, you have to do all these things, but you're not supposed to think about all of these steps. So, Joe, if you're telling me that like you're still thinking about ideas, I think that is a very natural process. But if you do that all the time, it means that first of all, speaking about new things all the time is just not a good strategy. So that leads to the second point. You do need to have a few ideas that you know how to speak very well. right? For
Oh,
me, it would be my work. It would be, hunting for discount codes. It would be, going swimming out of, all the sports. I mean, I don't know how to speak about, volleyball and basketball because I don't play these sports, but I know how to speak about swimming, right?
mm,
And that's the second thing. And the third thing is that you need to practice frequently enough to have a sort of reflex. And it's a very hard thing to attain because like if you're talking about something that you haven't spoken about before, chances are you're gonna think authentically at the back of your mind, right? And the problem with that approach is that it's going to cause you to stutter a lot and make a lot of mistakes, right?
yeah.
So, like, what we want to do is that even when we don't know that much about something, perhaps we can borrow some of the ideas that we have already learned. For instance, I know a thing or two about science, right? So I can talk about things like, all right, I need to, when it comes to science, I need to conduct experiments. I need to read a lot of books, right? I need
Yeah.
to solve a lot of exercises. And there are theories that are very difficult for me to wrap my head around. Like these are the things that I know how to talk about in a very fluent way. Got it?
Okay, I got.
So now if you ask me questions about quantum mechanics, my my reaction is gonna be, well, I don't know anything about it, but I'm gonna pull out some ideas from science to talk about quantum mechanics. For instance, I think that it's gonna be very hard to conduct experiments when you're learning about quantum mechanics because that subject sounds like it's gonna have a lot of theories that are hard for me to wrap my head around. Can you see that I'm borrowing ideas from science to talk about quantum mechanics?
Yeah.
So that would be the ultimate skill to deal with the speaking test. So I'm gonna inspire you with that thought. You can borrow ideas from other, topics, other areas to talk about something that you don't really know that well. Okay.
Okay.
But that's a very advanced skill and you have to practice. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now I have a note here. Maybe well, a few notes. Hmm. I would like two people to just give these notes a try. Try to speak about a subject using these notes. Okay. Oh, have you got any question for me first regarding these words?
Can you explain it? Because I don't understand some phrases like hit the ground running or nail on the head after months.
Okay, so hit the ground running. If you hit the ground running, it means that you succeed right from the beginning, but you do something, right? Nail on the head. If you hit the nail, that's an idiom. If you hit the nail on the head, it means that you do something with a great level of accuracy, or you do something successfully. That's all. Okay. Well, now all of you have 1 minute to try to wrap your head around this. You can put in your own ideas as well, but it has to be about science. It has to, your answer must mention teachers who are full of personality, and then you get to just take the ball and run with it. Okay, you have 1 minute to think about what you want to say using these notes. Okay. Well, this is me testing your flexibility. You really have to speak on the cards. Wow, this is going to be an exciting challenge. I think that you're gonna fail, but good luck. Now, let's start with Zui, please.
Uh, okay. Um, so for chemistry, many kids in school think that it's not important at all. And even though that mentality is kind of understandable, it is not always the case. Um, so I had a teacher, a chemistry teacher in high school, and she kind of had a full of personality. She easily kind of made the connection between some really funny jokes with the knowledge that her students had to acquire. So, for many of her students, they were able to hit the ground running right at the beginning, even though chemistry was considered very complicated for students in secondary school. And I I mean, for me, it was a little hard at first because I couldn't wrap my head around certain important topics. But eventually, I was able to nail on the head after a few months.
Mhm. I was able to nail on the head.
I was able to nail on the head after a few months.
No, the full idiom is hit the nail on the head.
Oh, so nail is not the verb. Okay, okay,
Mm. Yeah, there is the phrase you nail something, but
yeah,
not this time around. Okay,
okay.
good. So you were able to speak for 1 minute and 10 seconds. Congratulations. I have to say this is a rather hard task. Like you're forced to talk using other people's ideas, right? So you did a good job. Okay. And you didn't make like tons of mistakes. Although the way that you said the word complicated kind of ping on my radar for the wrong reason. So can you say that again? Hit the ground running, like it was kind of complicated.
It was kind of complicated.
Okay, that's fine. Let's continue. One more victim. Okay, Wayne, please.
Well, today I would like to describe my favorite subjects when I was in high school, which is science. To my surprise, there is one common assumption in my country among a lot of kids is that this subject was not important as other mainstream domains like mathematics or literature, which is the main part of many exams. But for me, the reason I was really keen on the subject is that my teacher was very supportive and creative. I mean, she always assigned us with a lot of tasks, but allowed us to take a ball and run with it. For example, I remembered one time she just assigned us with a lot of different shapes and let us interpret and understand all the kind of problems related to this stuff. And to be honest, in the first place, I couldn't hit the ground running because it was way too challenging for me to wrap my head around a lot of theoretical framework or complex formulations and formulas. But thanks to her support, I mean her unwavering support and dedication, I finally hit the ground running and hit the nail on the head after just few months of studying math. And I um, rather than struggling like in the first place, I got consistent high grades in every test and exams that I had to participate.
Hmm. Wow, okay. I like the fact that even though these ideas sort of ran out at the 1 minute and 10-second mark, you were able to just keep on going for 20 seconds after that. Okay, so that was nice. That was a good display of flexibility. Um, how should I say this? I thought that your answer was understandable. You were boisterous, like you were very energetic, but that's something that is almost characteristic of you. Has anyone ever told you that you are super energetic all the time?
Most of my people that I have met say so.
Well, it's a good sign. Perhaps somewhere down the line, we're going to see you on countless TikTok live streams sessions from very early in the morning till late at night into the other morning, selling all kinds of stuff and bringing in like billions and billions in revenues. Okay, and perhaps I can ask you for a discount when that happens. You have that kind of energy, which is good. Um, it's just that I would recommend you to pace yourself a bit more when when you speak because it was a bit fast even for me. And there was that one section where you essentially crammed in like three very long idioms, hit the ground running, hit the nail on the head, and then something else. But like there were very long idioms in a very short time span. So that took me off guard a little bit. Okay. First place, not first play, one more time. First place.
First place.
Domains. I don't think that you should talk about subjects using the word domain. You say domain of expertise, that's fine, but it's still a bit too serious for a school subject. It really is just a subject. Okay, got
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I expected the two people who were asked to do this task to fail, but well, they both knocked it out of the park. So congrats to both of you. Now we're going to have a look at the sample answer, but before that, I'd like you to have a look at the band descriptor for the pronunciation criterion. Okay. Bum. Yeah, Ian, please, can you read the description for band 6 and then Nguyệt Minh for band 8?
Um, Band 6 uses a range of phonological features, but control is variable. Chunking is generally appropriate, but the rhythm may be affected by a lack of stress timing and or a rapid speech rates. Some effective use of intonation and stress, but this is not sustained. Individual words and phenomenons
Phenomes. Phonemes.
phenoms,
Phonemes. Sorry. Phonemes. Phonemes.
phonemes may be mispronounced, but this causes only occasional lack of clarity. Can also generally be understood throughout without much effort.
Okay. Good. Nguyệt Minh, please. Band 8.
Okay. Use a wide range of phonological features to convey precise and or subtle meaning. Can sustain appropriate rhythm, flexible use of stress and intonation across long utterance despite occasional lapse. Can be easily understood throughout. Accent has minimal effect on
Intelligibility.
intelli-
Intelligibility.
intelligibility.
It's a long word. But when it comes to long words like this one, the advice is for you to just go with your gut. The more you read into it, the harder it is for you to pronounce it correctly. Right. So
Okay.
one more time. Intelligibility.
Intelligibility.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better. And this one, minimal.
Minimal.
Utterances.
Utterances.
Lapses.
Lapses.
So I'd like you to work on the is ending sound. Well, it usually comes with certain words with this with the es at the end, right? And unfortunately, there are lots of words like that. So you do need to showcase that you are capable of pronouncing that particular ending sound every once in a while. Okay? Don't
Got
skip
it.
it.
Got it.
Okay. Thank you, Ming. So as you can see here, from band 6, you're supposed to use a wide range of phonological features. And by phonological features, I think what the descriptor is referring to is just that, um, you get all the ending sounds out, you stress the right syllable, um, you connect certain sounds together as you go through a chunk of words, right? So on and so forth. But as you can see, the characteristic of a band 6 speaker is that their control is variable. What does that mean? It means that there are lots of mistakes along the way. And sometimes they can speak at length pretty effortlessly, but some other times they chop the sentences into very small chunks or they mispronounce words. Okay. So for band 6, chunking is appropriate, but rhythm may be affected by a lack of stress timing or a rapid speech rate. Um, I think, Ming, this can be a problem, a lack of stress timing. You don't stress any word at all, which is something that we're gonna deal with today. I also feel the same way about the way that Zui speaks and the way that Hương speaks. Even though uh Hương pronunciation is super clear, I just feel like every word is pronounced in the same way. Like not a single word is stressed or stretched. Okay. Um, a rapid speech rate. I think that out of everyone in this class, I'm the most likely to suffer from this issue. Although I think that Miss Rina and Lâm Oanh and Lâm Oanh, yeah, only the three of us are very likely to suffer from this issue. Sometimes we speak a bit too fast that we mess up our rhythm. So the word rhythm here is super important. Some effective use of intonation and stress, but this is not sustained. All right, so on and so forth. Now, for band 8 here, you have to use a wide range of phonological features to convey precise and or subtle meaning. Now, this is an interesting part, and it mostly concerns Tam Võ, but she's not in the room with us. Essentially, sometimes you go up intonation-wise. Sometimes you go up like this to signal to the person that's listening to you that you want to keep on speaking or you want to express your surprise, right? Your feelings of surprise. You can also go up if you are implying that like you're not too certain and what you say is more like a question, right? Sometimes you go down when it's already at the end of your answer and you have nothing else to add, right? But sometimes you go down and up, or up and down, right? Simply because that's a very common type of internet. These are very common types of intonation, and I think that for most of you here in the class, you can already do these two, except for Ming, because you tend to speak in a monotonous kind of way. You don't exactly go up or down. You just go like this. Okay. So you have to be more expressive. You have to raise your voice and you have to lower it and things like that. Some of you would be able to use these two. You go down and up. I'm not too sure about that. Too sure about that, right? For me, you go up, you go down and up. So that you need to display these types of intonation to get a higher score instead of just conforming to one or two types. Okay, so that's the subtle meaning part, and then you have the sustain appropriate rhythm. Now this is a challenge because then you have to do that across long utterances. All right. So at the beginning, I specifically said that some of you had a tendency to chop your utterances into very short phrases, like one or two words at a time. For instance, Joanne, you have that tendency. Miss Rena, at the beginning, you did that. Bảo Châu as well. Right? You chopped your sentences into very short phrases. And you see, that's the reason why you cannot pierce to the level of 8.0, because you need to demonstrate that you can sustain long utterances. And as you go through long utterances, you can still maintain your intonation and other phonological features. Okay. So the difference between band 8 and 9 would be that for band 9, you have to, you have to display a flexible use of features of connected speech. And I'm gonna give you a demonstration of that later on. Okay. So the bottom line is that if you want to get a higher score in the speaking test, first of all, you must be willing to go up and down more often, right? And then you need to, what do you need to do? You need to produce longer utterances. So for instance, I think that Ming can produce very long utterances, but she tends to go like this. It's flat. That's the problem. Okay. Ha Anh has certainly stepped up his game since I first met him. But as you can see, Ha Anh, if you give very lazy answers of only one or two sentences, you don't really have a lot of evidence in terms of sustaining your intonation across long utterances, right? You don't say much. Okay. Yeah, these would be the thing that you guys need to work on. When it comes to pronouncing like individual words, I think that even for the best of us, we make mistakes from time to time. But I don't think that we're supposed to focus excessively on individual words, like what Ming said at the beginning. You should fix the words that you mispronounce from time to time, and you should try your best not to make the same mistakes again. But for a higher level, you're not supposed to, just do one thing and then throw the other away, right? You're supposed to be able to do both of these things at the same time. It's just that, for band 7, you might be like this, like your fluency is super high, but your accuracy is super low. Like for band 8, it's gonna be like this, right? For band 7, it's either like one of the two things. But for band 8, it has to be both of these things. For band 9, all of these things. Okay. So yeah, I think that's a very important thing to bear in mind. Okay. Any question regarding, how your pronunciation would be assessed in the speaking test? No?
A question like,
Sure.
how long can you actually think when you like receive a question? Like, can you think for a few seconds, or it can be considered as cheating?
1 to 2 seconds.
Uh, so
But,
if
but you have to say something, or you can say something just to stall for time. You're not supposed to say, give me a minute, and you actually take a minute.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's continue. All right. So I hope that I have made myself clear that when it comes to, the higher band score that students of this class want to achieve, unfortunately, you cannot choose to focus on only one thing at a time. You have to be able to do all of these things at once. So, um, Bao Chao, I hope that you understand what you're aiming for. If you want to improve your speaking score, you can't choose, well, I can't deliver fluency if I focus on pronunciation. I mean, that's true, but then you have to find you find solutions for that instead of saying, okay, look, I'm going to focus on one thing only when I do the test, because that's not going to give you a good score. Okay.
Okay.
Mm. Now, so as I've mentioned, having a stable, not stable, but a more sustainable rhythm is absolutely crucial to your speaking test. And from my personal experience, whenever I can sustain my rhythm, a 9 is guaranteed. And if I go out of my way to talk about things I'm not super certain about, or when I get too excited that I, essentially lose my sense of rhythm, I'm gonna drop to like an 8.5, an 8, or 7.5. So we're talking about a 1.5 disparity here. And it can happen in, just it doesn't really depend on time. It depends on my energy state and how well I can control myself, right? So I know that like when it comes to IELTS teachers, like if they get a 9, they might say, look, this is what I do to get a 9, this is what I do to get a 9. I mean, that's true. That's true. But I think that for most IELTS teachers that are not native speakers, their band scores fluctuate. Sometimes the score goes up, sometimes it goes down. So what you need to pay attention to would be, a high level of accuracy in at least 50 minutes of the test. Okay. And when it comes to establishing and maintaining your rhythm, this is a very useful exercise. Essentially, we have important words in a sentence, right? And what we do is that we stretch them out. Let me repeat, we stretch them out. For instance, normally this is how you read the word one, right? But when you're speaking, sometimes if you want to emphasize the information that is delivered by the word one, you might want to stretch it out like this. Like instead of one, you say one, right? It sounds stupid, but I'm just giving you a demonstration. And then two, you stretch it out. You stretch it out. Two, and then three. So you have to be willing to stretch your words out. It's like you're talking to a child, right? And then four, okay? And then for less important words, you go through them shorter, a lot faster, right? One and a two and a three and a four, okay? And essentially, when you chart it in terms of a graph, it's gonna look like this. So this would be, hold on, let me use a different color, purple. It's gonna be like so one and a two and a three and a four. I'm exaggerating things now, but this is a very good thing to bear in mind when you speak English. Like you need to stretch important words by stretching them out. And if you know how to stress and stretch words, I know that I'm, making things so confusing. Stressing and stretching. If you know how to stress and stretch words, you can actually stall for time as well. Because normally, when we randomly stretch words out, it's mostly because we're trying to figure out the next thing to say. Okay, so let's have a read here. You can say one, two, three, four. So that's in one breath, and you have to breathe everything out. So one, two, three, four. One and two and three and four. One and a two and a three and a four. One and a two and then a three and a four. When I was a little kid, I didn't really like mathematics that much because there were so many formulas that I couldn't really understand. And as I got older, things suddenly got a lot easier because I was able to like wrap my head around these seemingly very complicated structures and formulas that my teacher taught me. Right? That'd be a rhythm. So let's do this. Everyone just pick a sentence and then speak. Thảo, Hương, please.
Yes.
Choose one of the four.
One, two, three, four.
That's horrible. Did you not hear a single thing I said?
One, then a two, and the three, and the four.
So which one did you say? The second one?
Yes.
That was bad. Let's move on. Bảo Châu, please.
One and a two and a three and four.
One more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Okay, okay. 1 and 2 and a 3 and a 4.
No, not 4 like that. People need to pay attention to what I have already said. You need to
Okay.
stretch the words out and in one breath. One breath,
Oh,
right?
okay. I think I have a higher feeling for 4.
So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Oh, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
What was wrong with that 4 of yours? 4.
4. 4.
You need to keep the all going. 4.
4.
Mm. And don't break. Don't
Okay.
break these words. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. Oh, the 4.
Okay, and the last one. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4.
Okay, next time, Ming, please.
I know it's coming. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Don't break. You have to say it continuously. 1 and a 2 and a 2 and a 2 and a 2. There's no break there. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
One more time.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
You don't pause. Do not pause, Ming. Do
Okay.
not pause. Mm.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
You didn't stretch the 1 out. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Ming, do not pause. I can't
Ah,
stress this enough. Do not pause. Can you hear me? Do not pause. Do not separate any of these words. It's 1, and it's like a line like this. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
okay, let me try again.
Mm.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
A bit better. One more time. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
You see, that's how you do it. Do not break them. And that's a very common rhythm to have in English. If you say one word at a time, you can speak English, but that is not, like that's not what 10,000 hours of speaking English is supposed to sound. So stretch them out and connect them together. That's the connected speech that is mentioned here. Okay. Do not break them apart. Okay, thank you. Yeah, not think about that, but yeah, work on that. Kai, please pick a sentence.
I think I pick the third one.
Sure.
1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
You're not supposed to focus on a one and a two and a three and a four.
1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4.
Stretch the word one out. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
The words are not stretched out enough for me, but okay. Well, we're gonna move on with some sample sentences, but just, up and down like this. I know it sounds stupid, but I'm not joking. This is really what I learned, and I dislike it when, people listen to my instructions and completely like throw everything I said out the window. I'm not joking with you. I'm showing you how to, push yourself to a different level. Like if you're 6.5 or 7, you know how to speak English already, but the point of you being here is not just to you speak English, you know how to speak English, but do you know how to, upgrade it and take it to the next level to get the score that you want? If you don't, then you should take a page out of my book. And this is something that, essentially all very proficient speakers can do. They know how to stretch words out, right? And without breaking their chunks of words, as I'm showing you right now with what I'm saying, right? And if you watch shows like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, that is going to be in full effect. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on then. We're going to apply this tip in some of the things that we have, some of the sentences here. Now, the first one then. Joanne, please.
So the subject I'm gonna talk about is science. To be honest, when I was in primary school, I wasn't too fond of subject as it wasn't kind of like a important one. And when I s- and I w- and I spent the bulk of time on literature and mathematics, but in high school, things changed a lot because I had to choose three subjects which I would focus on to prepare for my oh my god, to prepare for my university
University entrance exam.
to prepare for my university entrance exam.
Okay, let's stop here. I'd like you to focus more on your rhythm. Like you have a very natural way of speaking English already, so I don't assume that this exercise is gonna help you. But the thing about the way that you speak is that like you have a nice speed in some chunks, and then you pause for a very long period of time. Not like 1,000 seconds, but like 1 or 2 seconds, which are already noticeable. You
Mhm.
understand? And then you would fill in the gaps with and so sometimes your answers are filled with like fillers like that more than your actual meaningful words, you know? So
Yeah,
I don't think that this is gonna be an exercise that is necessary for you, but well, we need to
like
establish a sense of rhythm, right?
I don't know like what words in this passage that I need
Okay.
to like stressed out.
Okay, let's give it a try. Now, so here is a long word because it's connective, right?
Mhm.
So the subject I'm going to talk about, the subject I'm going to talk about. So as you can see, I'm going to talk about it's like this. Is
So
science.
subject,
So the subject I'm going to talk about, it's real fast. So the subject I'm going to talk about is science. Is science.
is science.
One more time.
So the subject I'm going to talk about is science.
You can stretch the words out a bit more just to give the illusion of you connecting the sounds. So the subject I'm going to talk about is science.
So the subject I'm going to talk about is science.
Fine. Continue then, to be honest.
To be honest, when I was
So it
in
would be like this, right? So to be is going to be super fast, right? And then honest.
to be
And one more time.
honest,
Hmm. When I was
when I,
in, so when I was in, this would be like this. This is literally a really fast phrase here. I'm having a hard time drawing things out. But you understand that when I was in, it's not supposed to take a lot of time,
to be
right? Now,
honest, when I was in primary school,
hmm. When I was in
when I,
primary school,
when I was in primary school,
good. I wasn't too fond of this subject
I wasn't too fond of this subject
as it wasn't kind of like, as it wasn't kind of like
as it wasn't kind of like a important one.
an important one. Sorry, that's my fault here. It wasn't kind of like because as it wasn't kind of like isn't that fast?
Not at all.
No,
Uh,
as in
it wasn't
comparison to other words.
as it as it wasn't kind what? As it wasn't kind of like
An
an
important one.
and I spent the bulk of my time on literature
Hmm.
and mathematics.
Okay, so you know when you need to stretch, right? Time,
Time.
literature,
Mm,
mathematics,
yeah.
right? You say, and I spend the bulk of my time. The bulk is fine, but it's the focus is more like time. So,
Uh-huh.
and I spend the bulk of my time on literature and mathematics.
And I
Okay.
spent bulk of my time on literature and mathematics.
So can you understand, this whole thing about, stretching and stressing and, things
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
Again, I don't think that, this is something that's going to elevate your pronunciation because you're already, speaking in a very natural way. Like some of the other people in this class, it's just that, um, when you speak really fast, with your natural way of speaking, you might end up, making a very long pause that is noticeable, and that's going to be a problem. Okay?
I get it. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Let's continue. And then we're just gonna focus on this particular segment, and then I'm gonna talk about how the ideas are, developed. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. Mm, Miss Rena, please. But in high school,
Okay. But in high school, things changed a lot because I had to choose three subjects which I would focus on to prepare for my university entrance exam.
let's stop here. Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna do shadowing now, but in high school. I need you to stretch the school out a bit more. But in high school,
But in high school, like
good.
this.
But in high school, things change a lot. Things changed a lot. Things changed, say a lot, right? A lot.
Things change a lot.
Mm. Because you can say because usually I would not pause after the word because, but then there's a very long phrase afterwards. So it's gonna sound like because I had to choose three subjects. I had to choose three subjects. I wasn't trying to stretch the word choose. It's a long ooh, right? I had to choose three subjects. Three is the word that we need to stretch here,
Okay.
right? Three subjects, which I would focus on, which I would focus on. See that? So this is a very easy
Which
phrase, which I would focus on,
I could focus on.
right? So, okay, one more time. But in high school, but in high school,
But in high school, things changed a lot because I had to choose three subjects which I forgot.
which
Sorry,
I would,
which I would focus on. Which I
no,
would
that didn't sound right to me, which I would focus on.
which I would focus on.
What? That's how you pronounce the word focus? One more time.
Focus. Which I
Which I
would
would, which I would focus on.
which I would focus on. Which I would focus on. Uh no.
Continue to prepare for my.
Okay. Which I would focus on to prepare for my university entrance exam.
Good, thank you. That should be fine. So I think that my comment from eons ago still stands. Like some of your sounds are like this, like they're boxed in. I want you to open it. Like school is like your school, not school. School.
School.
I wonder if you can like hear the difference because it's like so clear to my ears, like it's day and night. But I understand that, sometimes like the distinction that I'm hearing is not exactly something that you can detect. So school, not school, school.
Okay.
Okay, let's continue. All right. Um, we're gonna move on then. One more person, and then we're gonna proceed. Bum, 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 bum. About Joe, please. So I chose science. You can read first, and then we're gonna analyze it.
Oh, so I chose science simply because I thought it would be easier for me to work with numbers than endlessly long literature abstracts.
Okay,
Extract.
one more time. So I chose science. So I chose science
So I chose science
simply because
simply because
simply because the us just stretch it out a bit more.
simply because
I thought it would be easier,
I thought it would be
easier to stretch it out a
easier
bit more because I thought it would be easier.
because I thought it would be easier.
No, the
Uh,
easier.
easier.
One more time.
Because I thought it would be easier.
The you need to stretch the a bit more. I thought
Okay.
it would be easier. Easier.
Because I thought it would be easier
Hmm.
for
For
me.
me to work, it would be easier for me to work with numbers.
It would be easier for me to work with numbers.
Hmm. For me to work with numbers. For me to work with numbers, not to, but to. For me to work with numbers.
For me to work with numbers.
A bit too fast for me. For
Okay.
me to work with numbers.
For me to work with numbers.
Numbers. The b must be out. The b there.
Numbers.
Hmm.
Right. For me to work with numbers.
Numbers. Then endlessly long literature extracts.
Then endlessly
Endless,
long.
endlessly.
Endlessly. Okay. Then endlessly long literature extracts.
One more time. Then endlessly long literature extracts.
Then endlessly long literature extracts.
Too fast, which was why you kind of
Okay.
fumbled the ball. Endlessly. The word is fine. Endlessly long literature extracts.
Endlessly long literature extracts.
Okay.
Okay.
That should be fine then. So that should be it when it comes to intonation and pronunciation and whatnot. Like if you're still pronouncing one word at a time, now is a good time for you to try to stretch your words out and then try to connect them together in one breath instead of dividing everything you say into short chunks. Okay? That's all. I know that it sounds stupid, but just saying, that's what people do all the time. Okay, so let's talk about the first part of the answer here. The subject I'm going to talk about is science. Apparently, this is the answer, right? This is the real answer. And as you can see in the original question card, mm, there is no question regarding, what you felt about the way that you felt about this subject when you were younger. But that's something you can say, right? So this is really just an extension, right? Extension about how you felt about the subject as a child. Okay. So, Ming, do you understand this part? This is the real answer to in this particular part. It's just this one. You see that?
Yep.
But as you can see, nobody actually asked me to do this. It's just that it's something that you can say to demonstrate that you know how to speak very well. Okay.
Okay.
So this is just an extra detail. And I suppose that's why I advise you that you could include other details as well. Okay. To be honest, when I was in primary school, nobody asked me to talk about it, but you can, I was able to do that, and you can do that too. Okay. So you can talk about how you felt about the subject as, a very young child. I hated the subject. Okay. To be honest, when I was in primary school, I wasn't too fond of the subject, as it wasn't kind of like an important one. And I spent the bulk of my time on literature and mathematics. But in high school, things changed a lot because I had to choose three subjects, which I would focus on to prepare for my university entrance exam. Oh my God, this phrase. Just university exam would be fine. So I chose science simply because I thought it would be easier for me to work with numbers than, endlessly long literature extracts. Okay. So this is an extension, and for me, it's an easy one because I know how to talk about the fact that I had to choose three subjects to do tests for my university entrance results, right? So you can put in other details as well if you want, as long as you know how to, go through the ideas well. Okay. Now, Bảo Châu, do you understand what I'm saying here? Like this is an extension, it's not included in the question, but I know how to talk about things like this. So I'm gonna put that detail in. Okay.
Okay.
You can borrow my ideas if you want, right? So which subjects do you spend the bulk of your time on? For me, I spend the bulk of my time on literature and mathematics.
Yeah.
For you?
For me, I usually spend time on English.
Sure, you can say, and I spend the bulk of my time on English instead,
Okay.
right? But in high school, things changed a lot because I had to choose something that I would focus on, not three subjects, but perhaps something to focus on to prepare for my, early qualification, right? Or early
Okay.
admission.
Yeah.
Understand? So you can edit this idea to make it more tailored to what you want to say. Okay.
Yeah. Make it more personal.
Yeah, you can change this to fit your own ideas. But the point is, you must be able to go through these words fluently. For instance, I can say, so when I was a kid, I wasn't too fond of geography, I wasn't too fond of chemistry, I wasn't too fond of civic education, right? And because it wasn't kind of like an important subject, and I would spend the bulk of my time on Japanese, on STEM, on technology, on literature, one thing or another, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna use this scripted idea because I know how to say, I know how to cover the words. Okay. But I'm gonna, mix things up to, fit my purpose. Okay. But make sure make sure that you speak fluently. And if you haven't spoken fluently, just repeat. Okay. Next, then, we're going to do the same thing for all the other paragraphs here. Writing, please. The first one, I had lovely teachers. Now, so what is the real answer?
Mm, I think you talk about the teacher.
This would be the real answer. That's the focus, right? But this part here would be the
The personal feelings.
extensions, feelings about or description, right? Description of my teachers. Okay, got it.
Yes.
So the original answer is just I had lovely teachers, right? And you can describe them and you can talk about them in different ways. For me, I decided to focus on what struck a chord with me, which was the fact that they were full of personality, right? So even when their lessons were hard to understand, I still looked forward to their lessons, and that gave me a strong sense of motivation. Okay. So when you're fluent, what does being very fluent look like? You're not supposed to think, okay, I still look forward to. No, you're not supposed to think like that. You just think, okay, well, I still looked forward to the lessons, right? I still looked forward to the lesson. That's what fluent sounds like, right? You're not supposed to figure out one word at a time. You're supposed to go through the entire chunk right away. Okay, next then. Thank you, I'm Hương, please. Now, for this particular part of the answer, is there a core answer here, or is everything just extension?
I think like you did give something about science subjects, like information about science subjects. Like it has a lot of formula and like how you managed to like wrap your head around it.
Hmm. This would be the true answer. Science
Yeah.
subjects were very complicated, but the rest would be just extension. right? And this extension was about what now?
Reason, I guess.
It's about a learning experience.
Yes.
And the next question is, this is $1 million question. Do you think that you can use ideas about learning experience in other cases as well?
Yes, I think so.
Can you use this idea to talk about when you're learning how to dance?
Yes, I think so. Like
But then you can
not
can
for
you
formula.
so not formula, but
Yeah.
perhaps routines,
Yes,
steps,
yes,
techniques,
yes,
perhaps not make head or tail of, just say which I struggled with, right?
yes.
Which I couldn't master immediately,
Mm,
right? But then can you say, yeah, I did struggle, but not for lack of trying? Can you say that?
yes.
Yes, right? And after 2 months with a lot of failures, I kinda hit my stride and things started to make sense. Can you say that when it comes to dancing?
Yes.
Mm. There was quite a steep learning curve though. Can you say that? You learned a lot.
Yeah.
Mm. But when it comes to dancing, should you say connecting the dots and wrapping my head around abstract theories?
No.
Mm.
Connect the dots maybe if like we are talking about techniques, but abstract theories, no. That would be weird.
So for dancing, you can have another version. There were many steps which
Yeah.
I couldn't master right away. So I did. Okay, let me just copy it in from here to here.
Struggle, but not like trying. Yeah.
Okay. My curve though, there was quite a steep learning curve though, right? And then something, right? Perhaps doing these dance moves, right? Without having to think about them. Okay. So this is an extension, and as you all can see at first hand, um, some ideas can be applied in many situations. You can is when it comes to like extensions about your learning experience, you can actually talk about all kinds of things. You can talk about the first time you learned how to use a computer, or your parents learned to use a computer, or an iPad, or an iPhone, right? Or the first time that you learned how to play a sport, like playing basketball or football, right? Perhaps all of us have to just struggle, but not for lack of trying, because we try. It's just that it's hard for us to figure out what we need to do correctly. Okay. So the point of this particular segment is that um, you should probably use ideas that you're familiar with. And believe me, whenever I have to talk about things that I have to learn to do, this would be my storyline. I'm just gonna mix and match other phrases in as well. Okay. And yeah, as for the rest of the script, I think it's the same thing that you have a core answer and you have all kinds of extensions. Okay. So here, it's gonna look like this. You have a core answer, a very easy one, and then you have like some other ideas. So you have idea number one, number two, number three, number four. And the best way to do it is to perhaps use this one, two, three, four, these four ideas in different context. So for instance, when you move on to a different topic, right, you still have, okay, another core idea. But if you can use perhaps one, two, three, four, or you just say one, three, four, or just four, three, one, just four, and then three, and then one, and then two. What I'm saying is that essentially, if you know how to express the first idea, the second idea, the third idea, and the fourth idea very well, if you know how to describe them very well, you can throw them in other topics as well. All right. You don't have to use all of them, but just one or two sentences. Okay. That's all. Any question for now? Zui, any question? Hi, any question?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna highlight some of the words here. Didn't hit the ground running. Joanne, didn't I tell you that you did not hit the ground running?
Mm, I'm not sure. Maybe.
That's a yes, you don't remember. When I commented on your answer, I said that you did hit the ground running. It was a rough start, and then somewhere after the 45-second mark, you found your groove. Yeah. All right. Make head or tail of, another idiom, not for lack of trying. Okay. Hit my stride, make sense, a steep learning curve, connecting the dots and wrapping my head around something, right? These are all very nice idioms, and I don't think that you can learn all of them at once, but you can perhaps learn two, just two, and use easier words in between. Okay. Now, so Cho, this would be my answer to your question. So when you speak, if you speak about something completely new and you're unfamiliar with, you're gonna stutter, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes, right, Cho?
Yes.
Cho. Okay, so what is the trick to overcome that issue?
Keep in mind.
Hmm? Châu.
Yeah. I think I would like to, I need to let
Need to develop what kind of ideas?
I will direct the direct to the idea that I'm familiar with, so I can develop my idea in another way, but still have a connection to the question of the examiner.
Good. So essentially, you need to have some ideas. You know how to express very well,
Yeah.
right? And the main benefit of that is you can essentially go through, the words without actually having to think about them, right? Of course, you can't do that all the time, but the more ideas you accumulate and use on a regular basis, the more reflexes you have. Okay. So when you first use this idea, you might say, which I couldn't make head or tail of, right? You're cutting them out because you don't remember the words.
Yeah.
But after maybe the 10th time, you can say, which I
couldn't make head and or tail of.
That's not the 10th try. That's more like the second try. One more time, please. Which I couldn't make head or tail of.
Which I couldn't make head of. One more time. Which I couldn't make head or tail of.
Two more.
Which I couldn't make head or tail of.
Of, not of.
Of. Okay. Which I couldn't make head or tail of.
Of. Not of, it's of.
Okay. Which I couldn't make head or tail of.
Okay. So as you can see, Cho, the more you repeat something, the more fluent you become with it. Right. And for me, that's the trick of the trade. That is a secret that has already been out for years. You have to essentially say the same thing again and again. It does not mean that you have to say these things only. All right, these are not synonymous. You need to develop ideas that you're very familiar with, so that whenever you feel like, okay, you have nothing to say, you can fall on these ideas instead. Okay. It's just that if you're very familiar with these ideas, that you know exactly how to pull them out and use them. Okay.
But sometimes I'm afraid that I would be like misleading. Like I talk about another topic a lot, and yeah, and
That's not a
maybe
problem. It's something that comes with the territory, right?
okay.
And when that happens, when you're practicing with your friends or with me or with some other teachers, just develop another idea instead or choose to talk about something else. Okay. It's like, again, if you always speak like naturally about the topic, you might get it right or get it wrong. Right or wrong, right or wrong, right or wrong. Okay. See that?
Yeah,
But so you have another option. You have ideas you can rely on. If you use them correctly, that's a high score. If you don't use them correctly, then you get a low score. But at least you
yeah.
have two options.
Okay.
Okay. All right. That should be it for today then. Any question? Oh, and as for something for you to work on, perhaps these four topics at home. And I would encourage you to perhaps use one or two ideas across all four topics. Okay. I mean, obviously, I would talk about a friend who became successful, and I would probably say something about the fact that he is a teacher because I know how to speak about teaching or in science. Okay, I'm not going to dabble with business. A part where you go with your family. Hmm. Okay. Good luck then. Any questions thus far?
No.
Well, then we're gonna have more practice. We're gonna have a revision session on Tuesday again. People remember that. On Tuesday from 8 to 10, we have two shifts. The first shift is for writing. The second shift is for speaking, and we're gonna do something about all of these words you have learned in these lessons. Okay. All right.
But I cannot join that. We have
Then you can sign up for other sessions.
okay, okay.
Ừ. Okay. Bye bye.
Sorry anh, lúc anh nói là mình chuẩn bị cả 4 topic hay là như nào em chưa hiểu rõ.
Cái bài tập về nhà ấy
Dạ.
thì luyện tập ở nhà là em thể luyện tập với cả 4 đề đó thôi. Còn khi anh kiểm tra anh chỉ hỏi một thôi mà.
Dạ ok.
Ừ. Ok. Good.
Nhưng
Vậy
mà
vậy.
nếu như mà không tham gia cái buổi thứ ba được thì còn buổi nào nữa?
Hiện tại thì lịch nó chỉ có buổi thứ ba ấy thôi. Tại buổi đấy nó là vốn là không nằm trong khóa mà.
Vâng, nghĩa là
Thì còn những cái buổi support khác, đó là 11 giờ đến 12 giờ trưa hoặc là 10 giờ đến 11 giờ tối.
đấy em chỉ tham gia cái giờ kiểu muộn muộn thế thì có những hôm nào được?
Hiện tại là có từ 2 đến thứ 6 thôi.
Vâng, vâng.
Ừ. Và với những bạn lần đầu tiên chơi đăng ký thử thì cứ nhắn mình là xem sắp xếp được hôm nào thì mình sẽ điền sẵn cho. Còn với các bạn đã quen rồi thì mình sẽ để cái link vào trong nhóm. Xong mọi người vào đăng ký nhé. Ok.
Hình như em có chơi trong nhóm cơ hay sao ấy.
Ừ, đây thì sẽ add vào đây.
Ừ, ừ,
Bye
ừ.
bye.